Hello guys, welcome to Modeling Wellness Podcast. Thank you for the subscribers that you have had. We welcome you to today's sessions, and today I'm joined by my good friend who is called Fidel Otieno, who is a psychologist and an upcoming child protection officer. So enjoy the session as we dwell into this topic. Fidel, welcome to today's session.
Wow. Thank you so much, Harriet, for today's session.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you, by the way.
After long days.
Yeah.
We've been struggling to have this session actually for a period of time. But I'm glad I'm here and we're able to interact.
Yes.
And just as she has said, I'm Fidel, and I'm glad today to be hosted by you.
Yeah, you said that you deal with children. At a young age, how do children conceptualize the environment and the emotions?
Yeah, one thing with children is that children, they learn from us adults. Children will assimilate what their parents do so much. And when it comes to their emotions, they rarely talk about their emotions. But from the actions, from their behaviors, from their plays, we get to realize that this child perhaps is having emotional disturbance or maybe disturbed mentally. We find that these children, because they rarely talk, their actions speak louder than words. And there's someone who says that a child who needs love will need it in a loving way. You just show it in a loving way. For example, you don't understand why does this child nowadays, she abuses people. This child nowadays, she just beats people around. So when you see such a child, you realize that there are people who will be punishing this child. But when you come deep down, you realize this child maybe is seeking love. Maybe he feels like he's not being understood, he's not being addressed. And therefore it's very important to understand and get to know children's behaviors, how they express their emotions. Because a child will not talk and tell you that, Mom, you've wronged me. You see? There's a child that will tell her, for example, tell a child that, oh, keep this glass safe. Don't break it. And then when you come back, you realize the glass is broken. You start beating the child that he broke the glass, yet there's something was communicating. So it's very important to, when we want to understand children's emotions, you get to look at their behaviors. You get to look at their reactions when they play with other children. And even those who do arts, those who dance, those who sing, those who draws, they communicate a lot in those aspects. But it's very rare for a child to come and tell you, Mom, you are wronged me or you annoyed me, because there's that aspect of fear. But again, as time goes by, generations are changing, and we might see different in the coming generations as we are with Gen Z. So there are a lot of things that are changing when it comes to aspect of expression.
You see, I've remembered actually there's a time I was watching a documentary and a kid was very good at drawing. But I don't know whether to say the bad part is she only drew sad images. Like she could draw something, but it's giving the sadness. And then now that's when I realized, oh, so kids now you have to pay attention to the details of what they are doing, because you might think, oh, this kid just sits down here, paints all day, but the painting can tell you something. Now that's bring us to the need of like healing ourselves first as a grown-up before you have your kids. Is that an important thing?
Yeah, it's very, very key. It's very important for us to heal our childhood traumas, overcome them before we engage or we have desire to have children. Because most of our traumas, they reflect in us as adults, and it causes us troubles. So we realize that it is the way I was raised up, is the way 90% I'll be able to raise my child. If I don't understand whatever happened to me or anything, or the episodes that I went in my life as a child, and come and overcome them, the same way. They say that the way our parents raised us, that's how we're able to raise our children. Kama ulikuwa unapigwa fimbo, na unafinywa. You'll see somebody say, sisi tulikuwa tunapigwa tukikosa.
Yeah.
Na hata wewe naenda kupiga tu hapa. Na naanza kupiga mtoto. Yeah, so most of the time that's how we behave. But it's very key for us to get to know your traumas. Like me, until recently is when I realized that there are some things that either in school or even at home, mzazi angekupiga, but at this point ni yeye ndio mtu at least ana reason, anaelewa vitu, and she need to come and explain to you that this and this need to be done this way.
Yes.
But when you do that mistake, instead of explaining, they beat you. So I came to realize there are a lot of things that happened for us while we were growing up, yet the people who are supposed to guide us and show us that this is how it should be done, they thought that we are same level as them. So they just punish us instead of telling us this is how it should be done. Unapewa tu punishment, enda ukachimbe kisiki huko ama nini, you know. So as time goes by, where we are, it's very important for us to understand the way of we are able to handle our children, especially after you overcome your traumas. Then you know that as per now where we are living, there's a way that you can be able to raise your child differently from how your parent did it, and this child come up to be a very successful somebody who is able to balance his mental wellness and is able to live a healthy life without you going back to how you used to be raised. Yeah.
Do children grieve?
Of course, yes. Children grieve, and just as I said initially, they learned a lot from us. They learned a lot from us as parents, and the way we grieve is how they are going to assimilate and grieve. For example, the information that you just said, that a child who was drawing, and most of the time those pictures, they were bringing that aspect of sadness information. So you find that they grieve, and because the society maybe has assumed how they are grieving, we tend to ignore that they don't have feelings. But children have feelings, and they grieve, and they bring it in a different way. Some will cry and show their disappointments. Some will now, because you know at the age of that tender age is when a child is developing, and they're very easier to develop high emotions or even low emotions. So a kid will just be around, not talking, but she's just quiet. But a normal child should be playing with fellow children, interacting, you know. So you have to understand what's happening. Is it because of the loss, or is it of what could have happened? So whenever a child, maybe let's say a child loses a parent, it's very important for us to guide that child, get to know what is happening in his life, explain to him what has happened. We don't tell a child that dad has gone to be with God, or don't tell a child that dad is sleeping, because when you tell her he's sleeping, it's going to impact his grieving, you know. So one day when he will keep on asking you, and mom, dad is not waking up, dad is not coming back. So it's very important to tell them also the truth when they've lost their loved one. Tell him that perhaps dad has died and will never come back, you know, so that they have that reality in their life that dad is no longer part of their lives. And so as time goes by, they're able now to come with that reality. So the reason why I'm saying that is that most of us, we tend to ignore the aspect that our children also grieve, and to give them wrong information about the loss when you have loss, or when something happens. So even divorce, when people have divorce, you find we actually lie to our children. Maybe you tell him, oh, dad nowadays has done this and this, instead of just telling the child the fact, so that they come into conformity with it. Because it's very easier for them to come with it in conformity as they grow, and like as they growing up, they realizing that actually we made them to come into conformity with something which was wrong, and it really invokes again their emotions.
Okay. Then if the parent cannot be able to communicate that information because maybe the parent is also grieving him or herself, do they still follow the same process of going to a hospital and take the child there?
Yeah, if the parent isn't willing, then there's always close people before even he visits a therapist. There are always close uncles around who perhaps their grieving or their mourning may not be that intense as the person, the parent. So these are people that you can, because also you look at the relationship, because you know children really focus much more on relationship.
Yes.
And it's very difficult when you take a child for therapy to someone who doesn't know, to give her the right information.
Okay.
It's not easy for her to accept that. So the best thing is when you are not able to share that information with the child, then there are these uncles, aunties, allow them to share the information with the child, especially those aunties who are close with the child, who the child listen to him much. Because most of children tend to learn from the people they are close from, and like you give them a new person to tell them the information, they'll never understand that.
So kids they easily trust the people they have grown up seeing in their lives.
The people they have attachment with, the people they interact with, it's much easier to interact with them. I have a friend who she had a child in school, and that child, no one could pick her apart from the people she had interacted with.
Okay.
So even if you send me and she has never seen me in their family, she doesn't know me, she'll not come.
Yeah.
She'll stay with the teacher until she see either the house manager or the mother or the brother. So that's how children develop attachment. They're so strong in it.
Okay. So how should parents show up for these children?
Yeah, so one thing is that as a parent, you have to ensure that you also, your part of grieving is moving, like you are grieving consequently, like now in a way, there are no challenges you are facing. Because a situation may come whereby you are grieving, overtakes you, and it just shows anger, you show those negative emotions, you know. But again, this child also is grieving. So just as I had told you initially, when you see that you're not able to walk through with this child, then the best thing is to look for someone who is close to him that can guide him. And if you feel like also you are managing, you are grieving well, because this is something that you just know from your point. And just the best thing is that you just tell them the truth as it is. Tell them what has happened and why it perhaps has happened, and if you are able to meet the dad in the future or not, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very important for them to know that truth.
Okay. So what are some of the root causes of these issues that we are calling traumas and triggers in our lives?
Yeah, so I would say it's a very wide area of discussion, because we have a lot of what we call environmental factors. We also have what we call genetical factors that may lead us to these triggers. So on the environmental aspect, I'll use the same example I told you about accident. Perhaps maybe this you experience a tragic accident, and whenever you pass that place, it may remind you of what had happened. And to some extent, there are some people who avoid using the same place because whenever they arrive there, they just feel that it's going to happen to them again. And there are people also, words, they feel the words are the problem that may cause that triggers to them, you know. And so it's a wide area of discussion, because now there are these environmental factors that may lead to it, and also genetical. For example, in genetical, find that there are people who, how can I call, there are people who they inherit some aspect of traumas from their parents, whereby if you are, especially when it comes to things to do with the personalities, personalities. So you find that if my parent was usually triggered with a specific thing, then even me, I don't understand, but it usually happens to me.
Okay.
Yeah, it happens to me, but I don't understand any place that I've ever engaged in this thing. You realize this is something that they inherited actually from their parents. Yeah, so it's a wide area also of discussion.
You have touched about personalities. How do people know which personality they belong to? Because sometimes we hear people saying, I'm an introvert, I must be what, and you're like, you probably just read it somewhere.
Yeah, so I think it's something that inaitwa self-worth. Like you get to understand yourself. And before that, there's for example, there's this tool called Johari's window. And personally, this is a tool that I've get to use it most of the time. Because you realize there's something that people knows about you. And there are some things that you alone knows about yourself. And then there are some things that you never know about you, but there are people who knows them about you. So the person who came up with Johari's window, he actually came and divided it into 4 parts. So that the first part, akasema, when you want now to get to understand yourself, know the person you are, this part contains the things that I know about myself. I know I love dancing, I love reading, I'm noisy, you know. So those ones, you put them in the part and things that people know about you and you doesn't know. For example, people knows that Harriet loves hike or what, but you've never known that. Or Harriet loves fighting, but you never know that. So when somebody comes and tells you, hey, Harriet, mbona unapenda vita? Unashangaa, mimi napenda vita. Kiaje? But now when you now take your time, perhaps anaanza kukwambia, leo umekorol na so and so. 3 days ago, you also had a trouble with so and so. Then, like in a week, unapata umekorol with around 3 people. But with you, you've never known that you are quarrelsome. Unaona? But people see around, people see this thing happening. So when the people tells you that, you take your time and try to internalize, why could she have said that? Is it true that I've quarreled with people 3 times a week? And then you realize actually, I'm quarrelsome. So you take that and such a things, you list them down. And mostly when you're doing this, you are usually doing it with people who you've been close with. So you maybe ask Fidel, what do you know about me? And I'll tell you what I know about you. Some will say, okay, that one is true, I know. But this one has surprised you. So the one that has surprised you need really to take keen look of it and try to internalize it and know, is it true? And is it wrong? And mostly uta realize na kwanga ukweli. Ni vile tu wewe hujai focus much on it actually. And then you also say that there are things that we both know. Najua ina happen to mimi and unajua ina happen. Like people knows it happens to me and I also know. For example, I know that you host a podcast and you also know you do that. So both of us knows that. So you also say that you also take to put that aspect in that area.
Okay.
And then there's some things that nobody knows about you and even you don't know them. These are just things that these are black spot. Until one day you try them. Is when you realize, wow, I can do this.
Okay.
You see? Yeah, so from that whole aspect, the Johari's come and concludes that now you are able he's got a chart and says that if you see that these aspects, they repeat themselves randomly about you, then you are able to determine what happens or who you are. Because it really makes you to know of yourself and other things. There are also other websites. For example, the things to do with the introverts, things to do with the extroverts. There are websites and there are people who have come with those tools. They are tools to use. You will just check on them when you click and then inakujia. For example, one thing about introverts, that they rarely talk with people, So if you go to that tool, do you talk to people? Yes or no? Click a yes. And Do you enjoy hiking? Because another thing, introverts, they don't enjoy hiking so much. Do you love indoors activities or outdoor activities? So they're just structured questions. When you feel them at the end of the day, you are now able to come to understand that this is where I am, or this this the personality I have. Yeah. So to say more on personality, you find that as a person, that is who you are. You can never change. But there's time that it overcomes you, and it's go beyond. It's chronic, or it's too much. Especially when you find that now your personality makes you not to live with people peacefully. Your relationships are destroyed because of your personality. Then what tunasema sasa hiyo ni personality disorder.
Okay.
And now you need to seek some help, either from a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Yeah. When it doesn't give you peace, you have a problem with everyone at workplace. You know,
The problem cannot be everyone.
yeah, they can never be everyone. Yeah, and your things, the way you handle things is totally different. Like then, hapo tunasemanga sasa, it might be a personality disorder, and maybe you need to check up with someone.
Yes.
As long as it's causing you discomfort with people.
Okay, now let's go back to children again, because I think that for people show up in the way we show up because of how our childhood was seriously affected. And we come to realize that maybe the parents were not aware of it, and we grow up and then we start blaming our parents. Oh, my mom did this, or my dad did this, how did this? When you grow up as an adult, how do you ensure that you create a safe space for yourself? Because you cannot change whatever happened.
Yeah. So the best thing is for you to go through that moment and work it out, or talk it out to someone, therapist who is able to guide you through or walk you out. Especially these things, they happen for people and it's very sad actually. You realize maybe you are abused, and during that time to you, because you are a child and your dad or the person, the abuser has threatened you, you don't want to share this thing. So as time goes by, you make it something that appears to be normal to you because nobody has educated you about it. So perhaps when you realize that maybe this is how life is, because you are a child. But when now you grow up, you realize that actually I was being abused and I was being used by my uncle, the person, the abuser. So when you realize that there's a way this thing will hit you, there's a way this thing will make you feel very vulnerable. And therefore, the best thing is to look for a therapist or engage in activity that can now help you to work it out, guide you through. Because now it's going to act as a trauma. Yeah. And I've seen severally, or I've heard of many cases whereby people are not able to do the things that they're supposed to do because they got to engage in these things when they were young, forcefully, and now how it happened to them, they fear that how it used to happen is the same thing that will going to happen to them. So that's usually a trauma that need to be taken through by a therapist or a professional to help you overcome it before you actually engage in it.
In relationships that we create with people around us, how do we ensure that our relationship, I might be going through that process of trauma and I'm healing and doing it, but at some point my relationships are getting affected so much that I don't know how it's frustrating me. Is it part of the process?
Yeah, sure, it is. Because what makes you not to relate with people is whenever you see us, it's like a trigger now. It reminds you of that past, you know? And it denies you opportunity now to interact with people. So you just fear the outcome might be the same as what had happened. So instead of now you coming out of you and interact with people, you form a cocoon of a shell for yourself, feeling that whenever I let this out, the results might be the same.
Okay.
Yeah. So those can be some of the, it is actually a trigger of a former trauma or a former something that had happened to you. And that's why you see most people, they'll rather be alone than opening up. So the best thing is for you, work out this thing and get to know that people are different.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, people are different, and the person you meet might be actually the person who will make you to overcome this thing if you give him an opportunity. So I think usually the past events make us lose trust with the reality, lose trust with people, and for us now to gain that trust comes a problem for us, and that's why people see they'd rather stay themselves than having other relationship that might cause them problem again.
Okay. How do you differentiate between the cocoon that you have said with maybe setting boundaries, that maybe I can say I don't want this and this to happen because this and this, and not everyone will accept that boundary? How do I differentiate that? Maybe I'm putting a wall. Maybe calling a wall, instead of calling it a wall, I'm calling it a boundary.
Yeah, so I'd say there's that blocking of people because of past trauma, and there's that having principles, setting principles,
Yes.
because perhaps you don't want to overstretch yourself. Like for example, let me say that if I'm a person, because of my past trauma, I just talk too much, you know, and then I know that if I come to Harriet, I may talk something that may not be pleasant to you. So what should I do? What do? I avoid now perhaps interacting with Harriet, you know.
Okay. How do we call it? Is this avoidance?
So there's avoidance, and also there's actually it's avoidance. It's avoidance, but also there's aspect whereby maybe you understand yourself very well. For example, you know very well of your emotions. You know that me, I usually get angry at the little things.
Yes.
And therefore, the way he talks, when you interact with him, naona tutakosana vibaya, unaona.
Yes.
So the best thing is I avoid interacting with him, unaona. Or if we interact, we have that limit. So there's that aspect of avoidance because of past trauma, but there's also that you're just protecting yourself from what may happen next because of you are able now to understand who you are, and you're trying now to manage your emotions from people. Yeah. So there are those two aspects that happens actually.
Okay. Now that's a good one. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. So specifically here avoidance, it's very easier to know it because when you ask somebody why do he or she do that, most of the time you'll be referring to what happened past. I'm telling you, when I was with so and so, this thing happened for me, and I don't want a repeat of it.
Okay.
That one basically, you know, this person trying to avoid repeat of that thing, because maybe it never occurred well, and it wasn't pleasant. So utapata, most people will now try avoid having relationships or friendship because actually of what happened. But in this scenario, you're just now trying to understand yourself, make yourself better, that you don't ukosee mtu ama mtu asikukosee, you feel bad, then you express yourself in a way that will be very disastrous to you.
Okay, because I understand that when you go to therapy, one thing that they help you through is being able to express yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, in like in general understanding, what is the best thing that someone can do when they decide to go to therapy?
The best thing?
Yes.
That someone can do when they decide to go to therapy?
Yes.
Wow. I think just making a step for you to go to a therapist, for you that is the best ever, because just as I said, not everyone is find it easy to go to a therapist. I'd rather die with my problem.
Oh, that's,
You know,
yeah.
there are people who are, I'd rather die with my problem than sharing out. And they end up remaining, and the more they stay, the more they feel much bitter. We say that it's like somebody who is taking poison and wants the other person to die, expect the other person to die. You are taking poison yourself, but you expect the other person to die.
Yeah.
So the more you keep quiet with it, the more you continue to suffer about it, or the more you continue to be bitter. So the best step, the moment you make a step that you're going to see a therapist, to me I believe that the best decision you ever make in your life. Because when you go there, you're going to be guided on how to overcome this. And remember, in therapy, again, we don't advise. Actually, we use the ideas that you have. Because when something happens to you, the moment something happens to you, you actually knows on how you're going to handle it.
Yeah, sure.
You see? So the challenge is always and if I handle it, is going to be successful? Is it going to be successful? And what if it fails? So what the therapist is going to do to you is that he's going to try to make you understand the wide gaps, give you the world view of the problem, and various ways you can ensure that you handle it without maybe backfiring. And even if it backfire, there's still also a wide view of it, how to maneuver from that place of action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then there is this thing of someone asked me, like, how are you? And I was telling you that there's a time someone told me, I asked someone that way and they were almost crying, and I was like, what exactly are you going through? And for me, I cannot be able to help them other than just listen, because I don't have the answers, I don't have the solutions. So the best thing I can do is just listen.
Yeah, sure.
How do we trust the how are you? Do you want me to answer the how are you of Instagram that I'm good all the time, or do I want the genuine answer?
I think basically when somebody asks you how are you, what this person is expecting to know, how you're progressing, how is it going, how is everything. But generally people will end up saying, I'm fine, I'm cool, I'm good.
Yeah, one word answer.
But generally somebody expects to hear more from you. But I think this happens maybe because of perhaps we human, maybe the lack of trust I have about you, or maybe me thinking that even if I tell you how I am, how are you going to help me with it?
Yes,
you know?
Yes.
Or after sharing how I am, what next? Yeah, so it comes with a lot of mind. I think I'll say it's something that we already programmed that way, that there's no need of me sharing to you how I am, blah, blah. At the end of the day, you won't help me with anything. But you say that aspect of just sharing it alone is able to release you of your distress. Perhaps maybe if you are undergoing some problems, but you didn't want people to know, it's always very important that you share it out for you to be relieved, actually. Because yes, you'll share with someone, but you don't know what they're going to do with the information.
Yeah, we also fear that I might tell you and then I hear it with another
person.
5 people.
Yeah, so the best thing, maybe if somebody asks you and you didn't want to share more about what is happening, perhaps you can say, okay, I'm managing. I'm fine, I'm managing. Yeah, though there is 1, 2, 3 things that are happening, but at least I'm happy, I'm trying. But again, at the end of the day, you could have just lied. So I don't know how sure specific this thing should be. But if there's somebody who truly you trust, and you know you can open to him, and they come with you with such a question, there's no need of you just telling them I'm fine.
Well, you know you are going through something.
And you know you are going through something. Just be open and tell them 1, 2, 3, and this has happened. You know. But if you question their trustworthiness, then never also ignore we call it what? Never ignore your, this name I'm looking for. Yeah, never ignore your concerns actually. Yeah, because that's who you are, you know.
Okay, now this comes to the end of our session, but I would like to know, give us like how after you have gone through, maybe you have gone to the sessions with the children or the normal session of therapy, how do you take it out yourself? How do you relieve it?
Wow.
Like.
So personally, we usually like, I'll talk of in a job setup or when we are alone. So for example, in a job setup, it's very important for you guys to usually have an evening debrief.
Oh, okay. Amongst yourself.
Yeah, amongst yourself, whereby you meet with the staffs around and tell them, well, today the cases have been so and so, and I'm feeling this way. And then somebody is able also to encourage you, so you encourage one another, just like the Englishman once said, an iron sharpens an iron, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. And then personally, me, when I go home, I love, especially in the evening, I love listening to some good music, especially now when I'm on the vehicle after a tough day of interacting with people's cases. I just play some good Luo music, especially for Musa Juma, the ones that they flow slowly, and even some cool gospel music. And when I arrive at home, I take shower, you know, just have to take shower, some cold shower, and then relax kidogo is when I continue the other things. But this applies differently to people. Yeah, there are people who, when now they have a stretch, they want to wind up, they need to just meet their loved ones. I just want to meet my loved ones and share more how the day was. There are people who wish to just go and enjoy themselves in an environment where they socialize with other people, dance, you know. And there are people who they'll just come back, take shower and sleep.
And sleep.
Yeah.
And they're good.
So it happens differently for different people.
Yeah, sure. It was a good time.
Yeah.
So this comes to the end of our today's episode. So you can say your last parting shots.
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Harriet, for hosting me. I've been happy and I've enjoyed this session. One thing I want to say is that mental wellness is something that is of concern to me and you and to everyone.
Yes, yes.
And therefore we need to continue supporting one another. We need to be very open and be reliable to one another, especially in this generation of technology where there's a lot of cyber crime, people are being abused online, and there are people who also don't care about how you are doing actually. They're just waiting for your misfortune to use it as a content.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so it's very important for us to be very wary and be keen so that we be reliable to one another.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much actually for coming, and you have really given us a very well detailed description of what we say mental health is, because I think these days we just hear mental health, but I was asking myself, do we really understand what this thing is? Or we are just going with what people are talking about.
Sure.
So thank you so much, and God bless you, and see you next time when we meet.
Thank you.
So bye to my viewers, and I hope you enjoy the episode for today.